In 1988, there was an epic adventure of myth and magic. It was a time of fearsome beasts and a tyrannical queen. But the fate of the world would fall to the smallest hero of all. This was Willow, a fantasy epic born from the mind of George Lucas and brought to life by director Ron Howard. But behind the spells, the sword fights, and the two-headed monsters, the making of this cult classic was a battlefield of its own. Today, we're consulting the bones to uncover the secrets of a movie that gambled everything on the little guy. If you believe in magic, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss our next adventure. Number 10. The original title was changed out of respect. Back in the 1970s, when George Lucas first scribbled the idea for the story, he used a working title that would be unthinkable today: Munchkins. At the time, it was just shorthand for a fantasy centered on little people. But as the project evolved and assembled one of the largest casts of little-person actors in Hollywood history, Lucas realized the name was problematic. Feeling it was tied to the Wizard of Oz and often used as a dismissive label, he made a crucial change. He renamed the film Willow, shifting the focus from a collective label to a single, personal name. This move was crucial, as it cemented the film's true heart. The story belonged to one person, an unlikely hero who would prove that true courage has nothing to do with size. Number 9. The role that haunted John Cusack. Val Kilmer's performance as the arrogant, swashbuckling Madmartigan is legendary, a perfect blend of rogue and clown. But for another 80s icon, it was the role that got away. John Cusack, coming off hits like The Sure Thing and Better Off Dead, fought hard for the part, believing it would be his breakout role into blockbuster territory. He felt he nailed the audition, but the part ultimately went to Kilmer, whose wild-eyed charm was a perfect fit. For years after, Cusack admitted in interviews that of all the roles he ever lost, Madmartigan was the one that stung the most, a constant reminder of the epic adventure he almost had. Number 8. The on-screen romance that became real. In the script, the relationship between Madmartigan and the villain's daughter, Sorcery, was a minor subplot, more of a plot convenience than a passionate romance. But on set, director Ron Howard noticed something the script could never capture: the undeniable, electric chemistry between actors Val Kilmer and Joanne Whalley. Their banter had a real bite, and their glances carried a weight that lit up every scene they shared. Howard smartly leaned into it, reshaping their dialogue and allowing their connection to blossom naturally. What started as a subplot became one of the film's beating hearts. That spark didn't end when the camera stopped rolling. Kilmer and Whalley fell in love for real and were married the following year, a fairy tale romance that leapt right off the screen. Number 7. The groundbreaking effect that changed movies forever. Willow didn't just tell a fantasy story. It invented a new way to show it. In the scene where the sorceress Fin Raziel is transformed from a goat back into her human form, she flickers through a series of different animals: a goat, an ostrich, a tiger, and more. This wasn't stop motion or a simple camera trick. It was the world's first cinematic use of digital morphing technology. The geniuses at Industrial Light and Magic created brand new software to make one image seamlessly melt into another. At the time, no one had ever seen anything like it. That groundbreaking effect would go on to power the liquid metal T-1000 in Terminator 2 and the dinosaurs of Jurassic Park, literally changing the face of special effects forever. Number 6. The disappointing dragon and a secret insult. The film's climactic battle was supposed to feature a terrifying two-headed dragon that would rival anything in a Star Wars film. But the special effects team struggled to make the creature look convincing. On screen, the final monster looked small and awkward, with the crew even nicknaming it the two-headed iguana. But this disappointing dragon held the secret. It was named the Ebersisk, which was a direct, playful jab at two of the most famous film critics of the time, Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert. Lucas and the screenwriter immortalized the critics who had given his films harsh reviews as a slimy, unimpressive monster for the heroes to destroy. Hey, the magic is only just beginning. If you're enjoying this journey into the world of Willow, do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe button below. Number 5. The fantasy fights left real scars. The fantasy world looked dazzling on screen, but making it was often dangerous. During the massive battle sequences, things got chaotic. The stunt coordinator admitted that extras often wielded real metal weapons right alongside the rubber props. In the frenzy of the clashes, blades went astray, armor cracked, and at least one performer walked away needing stitches. A teenage Warwick Davis himself recalled the frightening reality of being thrown into scenes with charging horses, fire, and mud all around him. The triumph you see on screen was earned with real bruises and blood. Number 4. It was a box office disappointment. With George Lucas and Ron Howard behind it, everyone expected Willow to be a massive blockbuster. But the film carried a hefty $35 million budget, a serious gamble for a fantasy film in the late 80s. It was released in a crowded summer and had to compete with huge sequels like Crocodile Dundee 2 and Rambo 3. It performed modestly, but was ultimately considered a financial disappointment. It wasn't until Willow was released on home video that it found its massive, devoted audience, slowly transforming from a box office what-if into the beloved cult classic it is today. Number 3. The secret trilogy that was never made, until now. George Lucas never intended for Willow to be a single film. He always envisioned it as the first chapter in a trilogy that would follow the baby, Elora Danan, as she grew into her prophesied destiny as an empress. But because the film wasn't a huge box office hit, the studio shut the door on any sequels. For decades, the story was only continued in a series of novels co-created with X-Men writer Chris Claremont. Then, more than 30 years later, the prophecy was finally fulfilled when Disney Plus launched a Willow sequel series, with Warwick Davis returning to his iconic role. Number 2. A career-defining leap for Ron Howard. When Ron Howard signed on to direct Willow, he was known for smaller comedies and gentle dramas like Splash and Cocoon. He had never handled a massive effects-heavy sprawling fantasy epic before. Howard later admitted the scale of the production, with its huge battles, hundreds of extras, and experimental visual effects, nearly broke him. But rising to the challenge was a pivotal moment in his career. It transformed him from a respected director of smaller films into a fearless filmmaker who could handle the kind of blockbuster spectacle that would later define his work in films like A Beautiful Mind, Apollo 13, and Cinderella Man. Number 1. The film was born from an Ewok and created a star. The entire story of Willow begins and ends with Warwick Davis. On the set of Return of the Jedi, George Lucas was so impressed with the 11-year-old's performance as Wicket the Ewok, even under a heavy fur costume, that he decided to build an entire fantasy epic around him. He resurrected an old story idea and wrote the part of Willow Ufgood specifically for Davis. When the film was released, the 17-year-old actor was no longer hidden under a mask. For the first time, audiences saw his face and knew his name. The role transformed him from an anonymous creature actor into an international star, launching a career that would span decades in franchises like Harry Potter and Star Wars. Willow exists because of him, and he became a star because of Willow. Willow battled skeptical critics, a tough box office, and shrinking dragons to become one of the most cherished fantasy films of its generation. It wasn't about the biggest warrior or the most powerful sorcerer. It was a story that proved the smallest person could be the biggest hero. If this movie holds a special place in your heart, let me know your favorite moment in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and remember, the magic is in us all.